Now, with that, domestic abuse often happens behind closed doors, and it can be devastating for families. As seen in the mass murder of Valerie Jackson and her family, 1 in 4 women reports domestic violence in their lifetimes, and there are nearly 1,300 deaths as a result of the abuse each year. You may not see the signs, but they are there. Sonia Corrales is here from the Houston Area Women's Center this morning to talk about those warning signs. Good morning, Sonia. And
Good morning.
We just really appreciate your time this morning. This is a very serious topic that we're going to discuss. So first, let's start with the signs of domestic abuse, because we say you may not see them. They are definitely there.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we know about domestic violence is that it's a pattern of coercive and controlling behaviors, and it takes different forms. So it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be sexual, spiritual, and economic. And so when somebody is living in a situation and there's a cycle of abuse, and you're afraid to be at home, or you're afraid of your partner, or the partner who is abusive has a tool belt where they use humiliation, and they are not only physically abusive but also emotionally abusive. Those are some of the things that we see with survivors.
What are some of the signs that people should look out for? Is it maybe, you know, the kids don't want to go home, mom doesn't want to go home either?
I think, again, you know, one of the things that we know is that if you are afraid of your partner, if you're afraid to have conversations and fear that they will always be mad at you, if they are isolating you, you know, from your friends and your family, those are some of the signs in a domestic violence situation. One of the things to remember around violence is that there's typically a history of violence. So we know that when homicide occurs, that really is a glaring look at what the impact of domestic violence is. But we know that there's a long history of abuse that has happened in families. We know that children are impacted in many ways as well.
And this is obviously just, you know, the ending, the outcome was just so tragic. To prevent something like this, are there certain levels of domestic abuse that you can actually notice when things are going to get just totally out of control?
I think one of the things to remember, if you're either somebody who knows a survivor of domestic violence, or you yourself may be thinking that this might be an abusive situation, emotional abuse. So if somebody is, again, humiliating you, you know, calling you names, yelling,
right.
And if you are constantly in fear in your own home, then that certainly is a sign, you know, that domestic violence can be occurring in your home. And again, domestic violence is not only physical. Remember, it's emotional. It could be sexual. Somebody forcing you to have sex, for example, in a relationship is not a healthy one.
Sonia, thank you so much for joining us this morning for this very important conversation. We really appreciate it. Tom?